This is the Man in a Room podcast.
This is Man in a Room. It is a podcast, You're listening to Man in a Room.
Hello and thank you for joining me for this episode of Man in a Room. How's it going? Things are going fine here. Nothing really to report. I have noticed recently that my Norfolk accent is actually started to be a bit stronger, which is a bit strange. It's a rum old do, I'll tell you. But it's just one of those things that to be fair, I've lived in Norfolk now for 36 years. It'd be very hard for me not to pick up some sort of twang of something, you know. And, do you know what? I'm actually quite proud of my accent. I mean, it's not strong, but then again, it's not exactly weak. It's sometimes very clear, especially when I say the words 99 and all that kind of stuff. But it's very strange growing up in Norfolk though, because we have our own sort of regional TV shows and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think most places have their own regional television stuff output specifically for that specific county, and Norfolk is obviously classically known as being a bit weird, and so you can probably imagine the local TV was also quite weird, and it was. And I was fully aware of it back in the day. And there's this weird little documentary that was being made once. I don't remember why it was being filmed, but there used to be this local fair that used to come to the village, and they once filmed this documentary all about it. And so it's a bit like, okay, they're going to film this person. Oh, well, who's the best person to ask about the fun fair? Now, who could we ask? Who'd be enthusiastic and probably quite a fun little afternoon of just chat about the fun fair? Oh, I know. We'll get a little girl to walk around with us and we'll chat to her about things. And it's very weird. Even back then, it's like this strange thing. And I remember this girl said something, and it's one of those things that me and my brother and sister have quoted so many times since, because the way this young girl said it and what she said was just so sort of not what we would have said, and it's just such a strange moment. So basically, there's this scene in this documentary where they're walking through the fair and they're eating candy floss, and I can't remember why she says it. She was maybe asked, I don't know. But she basically says, we're all sticky. We won't be able to go on any of the rides. And to this day, I think it was, it's just one of those things that has stuck with us over the years. We're sticky. We won't go on any rides. So if I'm ever sticky, I can guarantee my brother or my sister will say, you won't be able to go on any of the rides. It's very weird when that sort of thing happens, because it's a very sort of niche thing. Because there's the other thing that literally just popped into my head, and do you know what? I'm going to share it with you because this is the way the show goes. We're going off-road. Random memory. So I remember this other thing that happened when we were kids. There's this garden centre that used to be nearby. And they used to sell all kinds of stuff on there, and we used to just go into the garden centre because my parents needed to get things for the garden, and that was the centre for it, kind of thing, you know. And they used to sell pets. They used to look at the goldfish, all the exotic pets. They used to like songbirds and all this kind of stuff. And you know, I remember they used to sell terrapins. And I just remember once going in there, the little bit with all the pets and stuff in it. And they had this these terrapins, and this kid was knocking on the window like that, just banging on it. And then I think his sister kept saying, "Don't do that, it's unfair." And you know, that is fair enough saying that, "Don't do that, it's unfair." But because this kid wouldn't stop knocking, right? The sister just kept saying, "Don't do that, it's unfair. Don't do that, it's unfair. Don't do that, it's unfair. Don't do that, it's unfair." Like a little song. And so that's one of those things that also stuck in my family, that "Don't do that, it's unfair" song. I just remember that. And yeah, it's a bit of it's weird. I often think about what happened to her and him and all that kind of stuff. And then I realised that, do you know what? I'll never find that out. I always find that very weird when that something happens. But anyway, back to the script. So anyway, we used to watch these weird like regional TV shows and all this kind of stuff. And I remember they used to do this filming all the time, you see. And they once went through their archives and they made a TV show of just all the weird stuff. I think it's called Bygone Days or something like that. I don't know. It was on Anglia TV. I think it's some Bygone Days or something like that. And it just basically showed old footage of like old Norfolk life. And it used to be really quite funny because I remember all this weird like talent shows and like, oh, look at this man. He can play a saw with a bow. Isn't it amazing? And there'll be other just weird stuff like juggling and, you know, just eccentric mardling. Mardling is basically just having a chat, having a chinwag, as it were. Much like early podcasting, but more of a person-to-person basis. A ripping good yarn, to paraphrase Michael Palin and Terry Jones with their ripping yarns. But yeah, a yarn. You can, you know, spin a yarn. But yeah. And yeah, just a weird archive of just weirdness and all that kind of thing. And it's, yeah, it was great. Loved it. And we used to watch every weekend. But yeah, it's cool. And do you know the one thing that we actually never saw on there? It was somebody doing Tarot and tea. It's a beverage and vicinity. Ooh, it's a beverage and vicinity, is it? Yeah. No, it's not. It's a beverage and divinity. Ooh, that's what that is. So anyway, it's now time for me to give the tarot cards a quick shuffle and tell you about what this episode's tea is. This tea is Twinings Mango and Strawberry. I may have actually already had this on the episode, or not on the show before. I'm quite sure I have actually. And I'm going to guess it's going to taste like mangoes and strawberry. I'm going to guess that one. Like I say, I'm running out of variety. Variety, ooh. Let's not do that. That's just post-production that's gone mad. So anyway, I'm now going to have a quick sip of the tea. Are we ready? Ooh, that is nice. There's the strawberries and the mango. I can taste the mango and the strawberry. That's a good quality tea. Ooh. Anyway, to the tarot. So basically the way it's going to work, I'm going to draw 3 cards. The past, the present, and the future. The past is, by the way, just as always, it's not for anyone specific. So this may or may not be for you. It may ring true with you, but it's not necessarily for you. Bear in mind, it's just a bit of fun. So don't take this too seriously, okay? Right, sweet. So the past card is supposed to remind you of something, maybe a person that you know or whatever. Anyway, so it's the Knight of Swords I can see here. So basically there's a gentleman here. He's on a horse. He's got very pointy shoes on. And the horse doesn't really look like a horse, really. Anyway, this knight is riding a horse at great speed. He's holding the sword aloft, being like, yes, I am Spartacus, and all that kind of stuff. And he's going some speed. So maybe being all like, I don't know, maybe being all cavalier and going gung-ho. So if you've recently been going gung-ho and just going for it, this may be for you. Or someone that you know, if that does ring true. Someone being gung-ho and be like, yeah, look at me and my sword. And then now we've got the 9 of Pentacles. So there's a lady here. This is the present, by the way. There's a lady here dressed in a lovely dress with all a flowery dress, and she's, for want of a better phrase, she's practicing falconry, and she's basically got a falcon there on her arm, and yeah, she's very nonchalant about it. Really, she's just chilling out, being like, "Yeah, look at this. I've got a massive bird of prey on my arm." And she's surrounded by 9 pentacles. So yeah. So maybe you know, being gung ho, maybe you've tamed the wildness somewhat. So basically, you know, you used to be gung ho, and now you've been like, do you know what? I've tamed the wild side of me, and it's fine. I'm now relaxed in a garden, wearing a lovely dress. And the future, which I'd like to say also very important, is the future. It's not written yet. We've all seen Back to the Future. So, the future can be changed. This is one of the higher arcana. It's the magician. So basically, it's a gentleman standing here, holding aloft a candle, or I would say a double-ended dildo, as there's a cup, a sword, a wand, and a pentacle on his table, and he's also got like the Infinity logo above his head. So the future might possibly be, your master of your own destiny, like, infinite wisdom can be beheld when you lay down the cups, the pentacles, and the wands and the swords. So basically saying, infinite wisdom is there if you don't listen to tarot. That's pretty accurate. So this has been Tarot and Tea. It's a Bear and Jam for dinner. Anyway, I'll be back after this very, very short break.
If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please do not hesitate to send them to show@maninaroom.co.uk.
Okay, so I'm now going to tell you something about my past, which I do have fond memories of, and that was when I was a disc jockey. I used to be a radio presenter years and years and years ago for hospital radio, no less. And so basically, in a nutshell, I always liked the idea of radio presenting, all this kind of stuff. And I remember making an internet radio station. It used to cost a couple of quid here and there, but it was fine and all that kind of thing. But it's very simplistic and just basically, not really. I used to get people listening, all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't proper radio, was it? So I thought, right, what's the one step up? Hospital radio. You volunteer, you go in, you do your show. Amazing. You're actually getting on the air, as it were. But there's a slight problem there. No one listens to hospital radio. So, I may have had the same amount of listeners. And I know that for a fact because I will mention later on how I know that wasn't how I didn't have any listeners. But anyway. So I used to quite enjoy doing this show. I used to have to do the hospital over, because that is for like a couple of hospitals, and I did the show for Lowestoft, the Lowestoft Hospital, and so that would be my job to read out their dedications. So they'd have people going around the wards and being like, "Do you want to have a song on the radio? Let me know what you want to hear on the radio, and listen on this time on this day, and you'll hear your request being read out." And it was great. And I used to get some strange requests, not necessarily always appropriate for the time of year. Someone once asked for a Christmas song in the summer. Didn't mind. It's quite funny, really. But the thing is that I tend to, if I don't like being safe when I'm doing things. You see, when I do behind the curtain thing here, I like doing this show as if it's live. You see, that's something, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but I leave the stammers, the weird sort of when your mind goes blank, and earlier with the whole not being able to sing the jingle, that stays in, because if it was live, it would be out and live, you see, that's the way it works. So, with hospital radio, it was definitely live, so stuff could go wrong, and I used to try and manufacture moments where it could go wrong. This included leaving mics up on purpose, so people listening to it be like, "Oh, he's left the mic on," and all that kind of stuff, And I remember once, just to try and sabotage myself, I just used vinyl, like records, to do the show, because basically it's all computerized back then. It's all MP3s, and they used to have an internal system of MP3s and that kind of thing, you see. And I thought, no, I'm not using technology. I'm going to use records. I'm going to try my best to try and do that. And do you know what? I did a pretty good job. I was actually quite proud of what I managed to do. And it didn't go wrong. I think I had a couple of ones that kept jumping around, which is all right, which is, excellent for me. And do you know what? I know I actually do have some of those records recorded. My show was actually recorded. I used to record it on mini disc. Sort of dates it there, doesn't it? And I've got these mini discs of old episodes. Be interesting to actually see if I can maybe track them down, maybe share them with you at some point. Not going to promise that, but if I manage to work out a way of getting a mini disc to a computer, fantastic, I'll give that a go. But anyway, there's this, as I mentioned before, there was this thing where we had like an internal system where you can have what was it called? I can't remember what it's called. But basically, you'd have just unlimited a bunch of MP3s on this system, and then you can literally type a song in, and there it is. There's the song, and you can make playlists and so on and so forth. It's fantastic. So, I like playing sort of weird and unusual songs, and songs I want to listen to. I mean, if I'm going to sit there for 2 hours, or 3 hours, is it 2 or 3 hours? I think it might be 3 hours or 4 hours even. I don't remember. But I used to do the show and just whacking any old song. I remember having I played a song called Novocaine for the Soul by the Eels, or Eels, whatever you want to call them. And it's like just a sort of an angsty 90s song. This is that sort of Novocaine for the soul. You better give me something. But so I don't know that song. You know it. If you don't, you don't. But there we are. So as I was listening to it, I thought, oh yeah, there's a swear word in this. Oh, this must be the radio edit. Because obviously it's on the radio system. Someone has gone to the effort of encoding this song, so it's on the system. So it must be the safe version to play. And then the F word just drops. I was like, oh my goodness. That is not a good thing. It's like I think maybe like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, maybe even 5. I can't remember. It was early. I remember that. And so it was a case of okay, so that's happened now. So I came back from the songs. I'm so sorry for your, if you heard that, and I apologize and this kind of stuff. And no one complained because no one was listening. And yeah, and it's just one of those things, really. No one was listening to it, so it was fine. And one of the weird things also about the hospital radio, especially the one I was at, I just realised that people that add 2 and 2 can probably add up who worked there and all that kind of stuff. But there was a certain amount of sabotage that went on from another member of the team, as I will say. They won't be listening. It's fine. But what they did was one day, so the system, I was basically like the new guy, and I basically came in and had a new show and all this kind of stuff, and I followed this guy each week, and he was somewhat of he was, I would say, a troubled person who had issues with other people for whatever reason, like fabricated reasons or whatever. It was a dick. So basically, the system, I'm new and all this kind of stuff, and so he basically had left the premises, and he was doing his show, and he sort of just zoomed off, and he left very quickly after his show had finished. And I was trying to set up all that kind of stuff, and I noticed that the system, the computer system, had been logged out of, and he did it on purpose. He 100% did it on purpose, because you don't log out of it. It's just always logged in. The computer's on and it's logged in. Simple as that. You always do that. Yeah. It's very simple. And for some reason it was logged out. I thought, he's done that on purpose. I thought, I don't care. I'll do CDs and records and mini discs. I don't mind. So then I thought, I wonder what the password actually is. And it's hospital radio. I thought, let's just go for password. So I just sat there, put user and then password, and it worked. So yeah, there's no need to password protect an internal system in a cabin in a car park. But yeah, so got in there, and then the funny thing was about that, he then came back just before my show was about to start to help me out with the old, the old password. No, I'm already in, mate. I'm already doing my show. Bye. I actually remember. I really did used to enjoy that, and I hope I can work out some sort of way of digitizing them and maybe sharing them, because it'd be quite fun. I've got so much archive material. I've got stuff going back like 2006, and that's on computers and this kind of stuff. And there's just all this kind of stuff that I can, share if I could be bothered. But alas, we are where we are. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this episode. I hope everything's going all right. And if it's not, it will get better. And, yeah. See you all again soon. Tutty bye.
Who is the man? Where is the room? It's some guy you've never heard of, in a room you've never been in. For more information, head over to maninaroom.co.uk.
It's Bear and Jen for Dinner V.